Do you ever feel a little nervous when you think about doing a job interview? Maybe your palms are sweaty when you're thinking about doing a presentation at work. Or if you hear about giving a TEDx talk, you think there is no way that could ever be you. You're not the only person that feels this way. Communicating, whether it is to one or two people or 500 plus people, is not necessarily easy, and it's not something that all of us feel confident in doing. But I'm here to tell you that you can change that. You can build confidence and you can build the skills to be a communicator, whether it is that job interview or something as big as a TEDx talk. From my experience from giving a TEDx talk, I am going to share with you what I learned, how I learned these things, and how I built the resilience to become a strong communicator and to give you those skills so that you can use them every single day of your life. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am so happy to have you. And if you are returning, I am so excited for this new topic, this new, mini series that I'm starting all about communication, basically stemming from my TEDx talk that I gave just over 7 years ago. So for those of you who don't know me, I am an entrepreneur. I am, yes, a public speaker, but I wasn't always. And I'm just a creative figuring things out as I go, sharing them with you here on YouTube. I gave my first TEDx talk 7 years ago, but when I tell you that that is not something I ever anticipated for my life, I mean that deep down. As young as elementary school, I was terrified of public speaking. I'm pretty sure that I actually failed public speaking in my elementary school class. I was not good at speaking in high school. I did not have the confidence, whether it was 5 people, 25 people, let alone the idea of over 500 people. That was not something that I ever saw for myself. But that didn't stop me. When I had the opportunity to give a TEDx talk, I realized this is when I had to lean in to the fear, to the discomfort, and realize that I have everything I need within myself. I just need to do a little bit of work to build those skills. And I'm going to share with you how I built those skills, because I'm sure you're sitting there at home thinking, that's great for you, but that is not going to happen for me. But I can promise you, if you want to be a better communicator, if you want to find more confidence in speaking, even at a job interview, even at your town hall meetings at the office, or maybe just those uncomfortable situations with your roommate where who's buying the toilet paper, I'm going to help you find those skills that you already have, to work them a little bit, to build them, and to use them in your day-to-day life. So preparing for my TEDx talk, the rehearsing, the organizing, the planning, all of it was one of the hardest, but also most rewarding things I have ever done in my life. And this was not something that I anticipated happening. This is something that I actually manifested happening, and I can get into that into another video if you're interested. But I did call this into my life, and I decided that I was going to step into this and do it 100%, even though I felt terrified and extremely unprepared to give a TEDx talk. So if you've watched my TEDx talk, which I do highly recommend you do, you'll understand that memorization is not something that I am good at, basically to the point that I cannot memorize. This is not a skill set that I have, mostly from a concussion that I had in my high school years that resulted in a lot of cognitive issues. Again, I talk about this in my TEDx talk, but memorizing is not something that I can lean on as a skill. So if you're thinking, I can't memorize, there's no way I can be a public speaker, you're not alone, and I promise you there are other tools you can use, which I will continue to get into. But memorization is not what you need to be a good public speaker. It is about finding these skills that are already within you, refining them, practicing them, and building this resilience in order to be a confident communicator. Giving a TEDx talk not only taught me that I could overcome things that I never thought I could, but it also showed me that I could do and handle things on a daily basis that I used to avoid, like confrontation, those, uncomfortable conversations, whether it's with friends, a partner, an employee, an employer. There's a lot of things that happen to us on a daily basis that feel a little sticky, especially when it comes to communicating and finding our voice. I know for me, I still struggle in this area when a salesperson is very keen on closing a deal with me, And I remember no is a full sentence. So there are some things like this I'm going to share with you as I dive deeper, not only in today's video, but also as I get into this series to show you that you have what you need within you, and we are going to hone those skills together, and you're going to become a very confident and very clear communicator. So this isn't just for people who are going to be giving a TEDx talk. No, this is for all of you trying to just build your confidence in communication, trying to feel ready for that next job interview, maybe a presentation, an idea you've been working on that you're so excited to share, or just those conversations day to day that you want to feel a little bit more confident and ready in. But if you're giving a TEDx talk, this applies to you as well. And I would love to hear why you're here, what you're looking for from this video, so I can make sure as I dive deeper into this series, I'm delivering what you need so that you can become the more confident communicator that you want to be. One of the main things that my TEDx talk taught me is about clarity and focus, especially in today's day and age. We are hearing so many different things, so many different messages. Even in one email, we will get so many topics that we need to cover. We are reaching to the left, to the right, trying to find all this information to put back into an email to send off, only to have a response asking for 10 more different things. This is not clear communication. And when you're giving a presentation or you are trying to broach a subject, you want to be as clear and focused as possible. You are trying to make sure that your point is clear, you are articulating yourself well, and if you're using any stories or examples, they support that one clear topic. And when it comes to my TEDx talk, that for me was a bit of a challenge, I'm going to be honest. The struggle really was about bringing all these ideas, all these struggles down to one topic, which ended up being using your mindset and the power of your mindset to change your future. I could have gone in so many different directions, but I knew that I had to hone into this conversation, not only for me to understand what I was saying, but for those in the room or here on YouTube watching it later to understand as clearly and concisely as possible. So when you're preparing or planning or building up your confidence to have a conversation, remember to be as clear as possible and honestly dumb it down a little bit so you're not going in 5 to 10 different directions and adding in things that are kind of just fluff that don't need to be included. A very big thing that I learned from my TEDx talk that you will see in all TEDx talks is embracing vulnerability. This is not something that we are naturally prone to doing. It's not necessarily comfortable, and I still struggle with it in all honesty. But preparing for my TEDx talk, I knew that I had to be vulnerable in sharing my experience, what I went through dealing with post-concussion syndrome, and really sharing how hard those years and those specific moments and times were for me in order to get this message home, in order for those receiving the message, those in the room or watching later, to truly understand where I was coming from with the story and my experience. Being vulnerable only is a positive thing. I know that sounds a little bit sticky and uncomfortable, but as you become more vulnerable, you're going to receive that in return. So if you lead with vulnerability, you are willing to get that back from whomever you're communicating with. That sort of breaks down the walls of this ego-driven two-way conversation where there's a lot of butting heads and not so much give and take, which is what we all want to have when we're having positive communication, is finding a way to hear each other, understand each other, and respect each other's opinions even if we don't agree with it. So leading with your vulnerability and not being afraid to show up as you are, who you are, will only benefit you when you're communicating. A big myth that we all have is that confidence is something that we are naturally born with. While yes, some of us may feel it more at times, it's not necessarily something that you can just turn on or expect to be there. It's actually something that you have to work on building like any muscle, and it's not something that happens overnight. You have to give yourself patience, build up your resilience, continue to flex that muscle, but the confidence will come the more you work on it and the more you repeat preparing and planning for something. For me, when it came to presenting my TEDx talk, I knew that I wasn't going to have any cue cards and I was not going to have a teleprompter. And as someone who is not good at memorizing and cannot rely on memorizing, I really struggled with how am I going to confidently deliver a 10 to 15 minute talk with no help. with no support, with nothing. And so I had to learn what worked for me, which was recording the audio of my TED Talk and listening to it over and over and over in order to memorize in a way that wasn't word for word by reading, but to actually understand the flow of my voice, of the conversation, and of how I was going to present in order to build up my confidence. And I can also tell you, when you watch my TED Talk, you may see that I'm not the most confident because I genuinely blacked out after the intro to my presentation. But the confidence was a muscle that I had worked on. It was something that I had developed over time. So when I got onto stage, even though I was scared and even though I blacked out, this muscle memory was able to bring me to life, basically, resurrect me, and continue my presentation and my TEDx delivery. And I was able to do so confidently and effectively by the end of it. And I walked off stage feeling insanely proud of myself because I applied myself and I worked on that resilience and that repetition to build my confidence. Another big thing about communicating that we often forget is listening and staying present. I'm sure you can feel when someone is not listening to you. They are sort of nodding along and they're waiting for you to finish what you're saying so that they can say something back that either has no relation to what you just said or is sort of a story that one-ups your story, and you just feel unheard. The same thing applies when you are communicating to a room, whether it is one-on-one, a room of 10 people, or a room of 500 people. You want to be able to be present, be aware, and honestly, read the room. Sometimes you need to give yourself a little pause because the room is responding to something you said. Or sometimes you might need to change your tone because they're not responding at all. So being present and listening to how people are responding, listening clearly to what people are saying, and not being afraid to take a pause. A pause can be very beautiful in terms of an interview, a presentation, or something as big as a TED Talk, because the pause allows you to not only gather your thoughts, but allows those in the audience or the person you're speaking to tune back in and pay attention to what's coming next. So not just delivering your message and walking away, but actually being present and listening is just as important as clearly communicating. The most important thing that my TEDx talk taught me was resilience. We all have the ability to be resilient, but it is something we really do have to work on. This is not first nature for me. This is something I still have to revisit, but being able to face a fear like public speaking, like presenting, like having a successful and confident interview allows you to build resilience because you are doing the hard thing. I talk about this in my discipline series that when you show up for yourself, you dedicate to yourself, and you do the thing that is hard, you overcome these obstacles and you continue to show up, that is the resilience muscle we all want to build. And when you are giving a communication style presentation, a conversation, dealing with conflict, or just having that really amazing interview, you are building resilience so the next time is going to be even easier. At the end of the day, just remember having nerves is normal. It's expected and it's going to be okay. It's about facing those nerves and pushing through even when you're scared. If you resonated with any of this and you are feeling called to maybe take the next step in building your communication and your confidence, stay tuned and definitely subscribe because I'm going to dive deeper in the upcoming videos. I want to make sure that you feel not only confident in your communication, but set up for success in your day-to-day life and also in achieving those things you have set out for yourself and hopefully those big goals you have in 2025. So if you are ready to become a better communicator, build deeper relationships, and build your confidence, now is the time to join me along this journey and stay tuned for my upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.